Welcome back to Skin Stories. This is our final session, which I'm very sad about because I've been having a wonderful day talking to some amazing people. This episode is called Why Bad Skin Sucks in the Spotlight. Now, Skin Stories has been all about finding the actual true stories that people have around their skin struggles, and the idea that if we can understand that we all go through this kind of thing at some point in our lives, and we can understand that there's no such thing as perfect skin, we can be a lot happier in our own skin, right? So it's been really great meeting loads of different people, and now we have your insights. We also have Nick, the founder of 47 Skin, over here, so we're going to be having a nice mixed up conversation. Firstly, I'd just like you to introduce yourselves one by one, and then we will dive into your stories. If you could go first, Dom.
Sure. My name's Dominique Hamilton. I am a wigs, hair and makeup artist and actor.
Amazing.
My name's Amber Davis. I'm an actress in Back to the Future, the musical.
One of my favourite films.
Ooh, you should come and watch
I haven't seen it yet, so yeah.
Oh, you should come.
Come and see
We've
it.
got a show tonight, actually.
All right, no. So Dominique, as a person and as a makeup artist, I'd love to know your skin stories and how they maybe converge.
Sure. So I have had a really tumultuous relationship with my skin. I have oily skin which can get clogged and can cause kind of build up and gunk in my pores. Getting really into it. And I guess growing up I used to think that I had to strip my skin of all the oil that I had in my skin to prevent myself from looking oily throughout the day. When in fact, I actually had to keep my skin hydrated and clean in order to keep my balance of my oil regulated throughout the day. So I guess what I try to do in my work is give that advice to other people, that having oily skin isn't a bad thing, and that shining throughout the day is a way to look healthy and fresh, and that if you want to regulate your oil in your skin to keep yourself hydrated, keep yourself moisturised throughout the day.
And Amber?
Oh my gosh, where do I start? So I've had, close to amazing skin all my life. I had eczema when I was like a baby, but no, I looked at people in school and everyone would have some form of teenage acne, and I completely skipped that. I don't know how, the angels are with me. And about 10 months ago, so I'm 26 now, it's like my skin changed overnight. I woke up, I'm currently in a West End show, so I'm doing 8 shows a week. I'm under lights, I'm in wigs, and I just had these crazy breakouts from one end of my face to the other. I have sent pictures if you want to get it up. So this is how it started. This was all on my forehead, and then it moved all the way around my cheeks. It was on my chest, it was on my back. I just didn't know what to do. I was on stage every night, so I was so self-conscious. I didn't feel confident being on stage. In my head, I thought I need to give my skin a break, but I couldn't because I needed to obviously be my character. So what I started doing is going for regular facials, and I realised that's not helping. I've spent so much money on going to different dermatologists to get my, an opinion, and they were kind of all saying different things. And I was put on antibiotics, I was put on retinol creams and tretiroids or something like that, which was drying out my skin. So I thought, and I was, honestly, the amount of money I spent, I thought, I'm not doing this anymore, and I kind of took a more internal route. So I got an allergy test, and I was intolerant to wheat. But one dermatologist said, apparently we're all in some form intolerant, And then I did a gut cleanse with Simprove, which was really, really good. And I've cut down my alcohol I don't drink as often. Now I'll only drink if there's like a celebration. And I am starting to see a difference. But it's taken me months and months and months of like, and it's sore, it's painful. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. But I think it is hormonal, and as many people have said to me. But trying to find the right products, trying to get the right advice, it felt like there was no light at the end of the tunnel, and it was just getting worse and worse. And especially being in theatre, we're constantly indoors. You're never outdoors. My skin absolutely loves the sun, but I wasn't getting any of that. So, but now I was saying I'm having a really good skin day today. Although I've got a sore one on my chin here. But yeah, I feel like I'm in a better direction, but it has been a nightmare. It's been an absolute nightmare. And at 26 as well, I thought that would have just been and gone. But
we were looking at a chart of the different ages that you can be, like in age ranges, and the biggest range was between 18 and 25, but the rest of the blocks of age still had people with acne.
Yeah.
And we were kind of saying, we don't hear about those people, we don't hear from them. We're just like, okay, probably around the time you hit puberty, you're going to get spots or acne, and then at some point it probably goes away, and let's not dwell upon that any further.
Yeah.
But actually, you're an example of someone who you had good skin.
Great skin, absolutely great skin, and then it was just like that. And it felt like it was like wildfire. It was just spreading all over my body, my chest, my back, and it was a big shock. And as well, in the meantime, I did think, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I have an amazing job. Like, yes, I've got spots and they're painful, but in hindsight, I'm still beautiful in my own way, inside anyway.
So the two of you are, both actors, but you are often, you're also a makeup artist.
I am, yes.
So
You can give me some tips.
I'm interested in what a bad skin day looks to you for yourself as an actor going in, and then going to someone like Dominique. You might be dealing with different actors with these bad skin days, and I wonder from both sides of that how that is. So somebody like Amber walks in, I need to perform tonight, loads of people are going to be there, some really important people are coming in actually, so it's even more important for me, but this is going on, what do I do?
Well, the issue is that most people want to cover up when they have problems with their skin, bad skin days, but when you put product onto spots which are essentially open wounds, that can cause issues. It can irritate and inflame the area. So I guess the best thing is to put products down, some sort of barrier between your skin and the product that's going to go on top. A primer or a primer of some sort that has a nice kind of thick barrier in between your product. That'll help to protect your spots from getting worse. But also some people don't necessarily feel the need to cover up when they do get spots. I think that's also a very natural and amazing thing that we all naturally have breakouts every now and again, and so you don't always have to feel like they have to be covered. They could be, it's just what's happening to you at the time,
Is it a little different maybe in the theatre than on screen? There's maybe more of a drive to manipulate or cover up, but in the theatre perhaps it's a bit more like, that's fine. No one's, because we can't get so close to you unless you've got the...
Yeah.
Exactly, you're quite far away from the audience, so I suppose you aren't going to see everything when you do break out. In film, on screen, there's a much closer distance between you and the audience, the camera, so in those situations there's a need, I guess, to find ways to smooth out the appearance or make the... and there's also retouching, which happens a lot, but I guess people are more driven to look as pristine as possible in film than on theatre.
I always find if I'm having a breakout, the harsh one I had over that was Christmas. That lasted me a really long time here. This was like during my Christmas schedule, which I was doing double show days back to back. It wasn't the fact that I was on stage with these spots, it was the fact it was sore. And I had to apply the makeup, I then had to take it off, and it was just sore. It was really sore. And as well, with the theatre, we have something called stage door, and I like to take my makeup off straight away after the show. I want clean skin. And the audience have the opportunity to come round to stage door and meet the actors as they're coming out. And I couldn't even go out. I didn't want anybody to take a picture of me or anything. I felt, the only way to say it is I felt really ugly, you know? But I wasn't, and my boyfriend said, don't be silly. I think sometimes in your eyes you look 10 times worse than the person looking at you thinks, you know?
Have you felt with that any responsibility to maybe show your makeupless skin on a bad day?
I will only wear, like I'm wearing makeup today because we're doing this, but I will usually only wear makeup when I step foot on stage. I like to let my skin breathe, and I do feel confident when I'm having a good skin day to go makeup free. But I have been very open on social media about my skin problems because it's normal. It's normal. We all hit weird phases in our lives. It's normal, and that's why I'm not ashamed to talk about it. I'd like to talk about it. But it did make me feel at times underconfident and vulnerable and ugly.
I'm interested in, so you're on Love Island.
I was.
And yeah, so many people watch that show. And we have this impression that the people on there are like super confident, have kind of been selected partially for the image that they have. So it seems like you are, and correct me if I'm wrong, like at quite a really high point with your confidence, having been on the show, a lot of eyeballs on you, doing really well, then moving into an acting career, moving back into an acting career, and then this kind of coming out of nowhere. We touched on this a little before, but like, the shock of that and the kind of like, why is this happening to me? And I was really confident. People know you as a confident person.
Yeah. I think being on Love Island was so many years ago now. It was like 6 years ago. I've gone through complete different phases in my life. But I feel like now, especially on my social media, I am unapologetically me, and I wouldn't class myself as an influencer or anything like that. I'll talk openly on my Instagram about my life, about my problems, about the job that I love, but I've kind of emotionally disconnected from feeling like I have to be a certain standard on social media. There are so many influencers and gorgeous women and men and non-binary people on Instagram. I do feel like now I can just be myself. And if you want to unfollow me. That's my...
And what has been the journey to get there? Can you pull out any key moments or something someone said to you which then brought you to this place where you're like, you know what, this is me, I'm comfortable?
Yeah. I think because I won Love Island so young and I got thrown into the spotlight so young, I hardened up quite quickly. And I've always had thick skin since I was a kid. I don't know, I've always kind of just had thick skin. I'm very confident in the person that I am. Obviously, we have moments where we feel a little bit out of our own skin, but yeah, I think I'm just so present in my own life. I just live my truth, you know. I don't live for anybody else. Thanks.
Nor should you.
And Dom, any lotions, potions, any advice where you were like, no? Or stuff you even hear now actually as a makeup artist, someone so close to skin, something where you just think, definitely don't do that.
I don't know if it's that kind of niche, but a lot of people like to exfoliate a lot, and I think it's necessary. You've got to keep your skin refreshing. As the dead skin dies, you've got to get rid of it, and then the new skin can shine. But I think there is a trend to do a lot of like chemical peels and a lot of harsh things to our skin at the moment. A lot of people like to strip their skin and do masks and peels and cream exfoliators and things like that. I think maybe that could be an issue. I think there's, we need to be kind to our skin. We need to be cleansing and moisturizing and using serums and so on to keep our skin hydrated. But I would say, the over exfoliating I think is a trend that I'm seeing that might be a bit of an issue overall.
I had a question about 47 Skin. So I believe you are a big fan.
I am a huge fan. So when I started getting really bad skin, I went to a woman and she was doing facials on me and she used 47 Skin and I was like, oh my gosh. So my favourite number is 47. I actually have it tattooed on the back
I
of
can
my...
verify it says 47.
47.
Yeah, on the back of my arm. And I was like, it's a sign, it's a sign I need to start using their products. And I did, and it's turned out great.
So talk me through how it felt when, because I imagine you tried a bunch of stuff already, like you said, you'd had all these different treatments. To then put something on, I imagine you trusted your facial person who gave it to you, but just what was the feeling when you were like, my God, this is
a sign.
Is working?
Well, when I was like looking at the 47 page on Instagram before, looking at any of the products to purchase or have at home, I could just see it was kind. It wasn't harsh chemicals. It was nothing like that. And it was specifically for me in that moment in my life. To help with scars and blemishes and repair and hydration. And I was just like, it was like everything in one place. I just thought, oh my gosh, my prayers have been answered, And then that was that. I've never looked back.
How does it feel to hear that?
Yeah, fantastic. And it's nice because that is exactly the point of the brand. So it's great that comes across. We were saying earlier about when I came across it, it worked for me in 4 days, and then you think, right, you just go and tell everyone it works, and everyone's going to buy it, and it'll help everyone's skin. And of course, then you have to go on the journey of being able to communicate. I don't get to talk to everybody, obviously, so you want to be your brand to be able to communicate that to people. And if you've taken that from the page or whatever, then that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a kind brand. That's how I can explain it. When you look at it from like an audience perspective, I'm just stuck in theatre land. As a customer perspective, it's kind and like caring, nurturing brand.
Well, I think as well, because everybody involved in the business has had skin concerns, and so we want to be empathetic. We also understand what it feels like to then have it, but then try and solution hunt with it. And it's a very, very challenging industry, and it makes you feel quite uncomfortable. So we want to be the opposite of that. We want to be authentic, real, and kind of meet people on the journey. So that's really good to hear.
But when when I was having really, really bad breakouts, that silver mask, there's nothing as soothing as that on your skin. And when you take it off, you do feel like you've got a layer of like something's protecting it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I used to go into work with these, I've got pictures on my phone, I should have sent them to you, of me wearing the mask going into work. I'd do it 2 or 3 times a week. And as soon as I peeled it off, I just felt it wasn't so aggressive, it was like calmer.
That silver mask, so I used to, I was still working full time, and if I was going, I don't know, out on a date or something important that I was going, and say nightmare, blemish comes, and I'd just go home and leave it on for as long as I could, and it would go.
Yeah.
And then I was telling this story earlier as well, but every product that we've got strong pipeline of new products coming in. Every product that before we launch it, I test it for a month. So if anything, because we've always got different ingredients alongside the silver chitoderm. So if any issues or anything, then we won't launch it. So every now and again, of course, I do get blemishes because you're trying these different things. And I had one a little while ago, and actually about 3 days ago, it popped up and I thought, oh no, what timing? And it was because of this cleanser, which we won't launch. It's a face wash actually, which is very, believe it or not, very hard to get a face wash that doesn't clog your pores. So went home, had a call, I think it was yesterday, with the face mask on. And I just explained to the person, I was like, I'm testing a new product, just ignore me. Peeled it off and the blemish had completely gone. So it's like a little miracle mask if you ever in bother.
I can... Yeah. I'm its #1 fan. I'll be taking a couple of boxes.
Try that one.
Oh, it's amazing.
Do you have people who you look up to? I guess in the acting sphere, or I know you didn't want to be referred like not an influencer, but I guess in the sphere that you find yourself in, like other people who you feel like also are kind of skin positive or whatever. Like I guess we get this sense of fame or celebrity or actors being quite unable to feel this way, like quite like covering up and maybe that's unfair because maybe that's just how they're captured, you know, by the press and stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess what I mean is like, who's your community?
Yeah. I believe that there has been a shift on social media now where people are starting to show their real skin and their unedited, say, bikini pictures. I think there is a tough side to social media, especially with the negativity, trolling, things like that. But put that aside, I actually have a lovely following and I follow a lovely amount of people who are just skin positive, body positive. I believe there's been a shift. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I do. I think it's great to see that there's this shift towards reality, truth.
And even there's people that will not blur out their cellulite scars, and it just urges the next, like, a couple of their followers to do the same. And then
domino effect.
It's a domino effect. But I do believe it's happening. I saw there was a trend the other day, I think Kate Ferdinand had put a selfie-free, makeup-free selfie up. And I just thought, that's a really lovely thing to do, you know? So on my own personal social media, I try to use, especially if I'm talking on a story, no filters, you know? And I know a lot of influencers are doing that now. They're getting rid of the filters and they're just being themselves to their audiences.
How do you feel about that, Dom?
Yeah, I do see a slight shift in that direction. I think there are still people who edit themselves and use filters and so on, but I think there's definitely maybe not less of it, but more awareness of it. I think there's a lot of people talking about editing themselves or showing comparison photos of like, this is this person with a filter and this is this person in real life. Just kind of to remind each other themselves that, yeah, reality is not these polished photoshopped photos that we all see. Most of the time we all look like how we look, natural and real and textured and oily and wrinkly and dry and crispy and all the adjectives. But yeah, I do think it's good. I think it's frustrating that there needs to be a movement towards like, this is what we actually look like, because we all walk around being ourselves every day. But we also all use social media all the time, and most of us. And there are so many people who were heavily editing themselves, and for so long that became a new beauty standard, I'd say. People started to believe that that's what they should look like, and then comparing themselves to that felt inadequate, including myself a lot of the time. So yeah, I think this, even though it's sad that it has to be this way, that there has to be a shift away from falsity, it's good that that's happening.
Yeah.
And just to wrap up, I think if there's someone out there who is not quite feeling this brave. So it's been really cool. Actually, everyone on this panel, I feel like they've got to the place where they're like, I am who I am.
Yeah.
And there's some people who are maybe tentatively moving towards feeling that way. Now, I think everyone on the panel didn't always feel that way, right? So do you have something you could say?
I think if I've ever been in a vulnerable place, whether it's with my skin or my mental health, my mother always said to me, our only constant is change. Everything is temporary, you know, this too shall pass. So if you're having, say, a bad day with anything, it will go. It will go, and you just have to, you know, let the rain pass, because everything is changing.
That's great. That's good advice. I would say mine is, as harsh as it sounds, you're not that special. And I mean, when I say that, like, that most of the time, no one cares. I think that was one thing that really shaped who I am in terms of the way that I dress and the way that the haircut that I have, and my skin and my body and things like that. I've had a lot of self-conscious moments in my life, and I think the best advice I've ever got, I think also from my mum, was like, you're really not that special. Like, no one
I like that.
is walking down the street staring at you thinking, oh, you've got one single spot and I hate it, or like, you have a shaved head, like, no one cares most of the time.
Everybody just cares about themselves.
Exactly. So I think the less focused on, thinking that everyone's thinking about themselves and that no one's thinking about you is a really helpful way to not
You're
care.
not that special.
You're
You
not
get
that
t-shirts.
And passing it over to you.
We've touched on it all day, I guess, but if one thing, because you can tell people stuff, right, and it's like, yeah, in one area or the other, what I would say is, whatever it is that you're insecure about, 10 years from now, you'll wish you looked like you did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I think back at university and I think about the nights out that I missed because I had spots and blemishes, I would kill to look like that now. And I'd be out there in a flash. So I think that's the big point, that it you know, in 10 years' time, you look back and go, I wish.
Yeah.
I think is, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, both of you.
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone here for sticking with us and watching all of these talks. I hope you've all found it as valuable as I have.